Welcome to the talk show Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. The goal of this show is to provide a learning experience to people of all ages, with guests from various fields in academics, a wide range of industries, and insight into the many forms of art, athletics, and entertainment. We hope you enjoy the show. Actor and director Carlos Moreno Jr. is today's guest. Carlos talks about his extensive work in film, including his work in Pepito's America.
Actor, director, and writer Carlos Moreno Jr. Welcome to Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.
Tis the season, my brother. Tis the season. Thank you.
Getting ready. We're getting ready for that snow here in Pennsylvania.
God, I don't miss it.
Yeah. Speaking about weather and where you live at the time, Carlos, let's talk about your childhood a bit. I think you were born in Texas, but maybe into a family of farm workers. I need to know what that was like.
Woo! Well, it's farm working in Michigan and Indiana and Ohio. We would work on tomatoes, strawberries, you name it, cherries. I started at a very young age, only to help the parents out, and it was a sense of community. It was hard. I think there's good things and bad things about it. The good thing is that there was a sense of community and family. And there's not that much in the city. I mean, and when I mean that, it's like, for example, it could be like maybe 100 degrees outside, no wind, and we were working on the pickles or cucumbers, and we had to pick them. Right. And we didn't want to work because it was just so hot. So while we were bent over or kneeling on the floor, on the dirt, and picking up the crops, you would hear one person sing in Spanish, la 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 la, and then the other person behind you would start singing, and then the other person in front of you, and all you would hear like 30 people singing to give ourselves that kind of moving forward. We can do this no matter what. We will persevere this day because it's so hot. And by the time you know it, we will be at the end and we'll go home. So that sense of community is what the good thing about it. But the hard thing was of course, the back-breaking, really hard labor. And then as a kid, I would say, well, at least I'm feeding people. So you kind of start to think like I'm doing something good in the world instead of just like, not doing anything at all. So you also do a lot of daydreaming. And since I was a kid, I used to daydream that I'd be doing this. Mm. And that, I would just go in la la land in my head, speaking asparagus or whatever. And I would see myself here and doing projects, and I'd smile and laugh and create scenarios in my head all day for like 10, 12 hours. So it helped.
So when did you first get the acting bug for yourself?
I was in college. I was a political science major. I went to University of New Mexico, and it was a little tough for me. Hollywood didn't know what to do with me. It still doesn't know. I'm very unique, very different. I'm not Black. I'm not Latin looking enough. I'm very different. And my roots I'm like 45% or 43% indigenous America. And then with a mixture of everything from Brazilian to all over Eastern, Jewish, you name it, African, Scottish. It's a mess. So I come here looking like this. I don't know what to do. So the first time was going to college and it was tough, man. It was tough. I couldn't act because I didn't look the part or whatever. So they gave me like the little lesser roles and put me on the side, and and I was always observing and looking and how to make things better. But when I was in college, I got my first gig. I was 20, I want to say 22, 21, and I got Taft-Hartley into the union, Screen Actors Guild. Back then in Albuquerque. And then all of a sudden I was like the popular kid in the theater department because how did you get that? I just auditioned. And it was a role, it was a movie called East Meets West. And it was a Japanese American film. And I played a Native American. I had long hair, like, really down here, really straight. So I looked like a Native American kid. And I worked on it for about a month. And I made a lot of money. And that was the first gig, like paid gig, where I said, whoa, I could do this. This was easy. All I have to do is audition and then I get the job. Did not know that it was a lot tougher once you come over here. So I got that money and I moved to LA. Eventually, the university, because I had to leave the university because of the movie, the professors didn't want to work with me to reschedule my tests. So I flunked everything. I flunked acting class. I flunked voice class. Because I was in class, I was working on set.
Right.
And it was towards the very end of the semester, so there was no way that they could help me out. So they kicked me out of school. I was like I was a junior. And so I needed a year left and they kicked me out. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to go to Hollywood and I'm just going to do this out in LA. But that was the bug, was in college.
Well, that's also very big. It's great that it's your passion. That's quite a gamble, because how many stories have we read about people who went out to Hollywood and they get jobs as waiters so they can audition during the day, and it doesn't always work out. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because on my show, I often talk about the story behind the glory. So now you're writing, you're directing, you've been on so many things. But what were some of the struggles you had once you went out to Hollywood? You had a great, successful story as an actor who made money while a college student. But now you're in the big leagues. You're in the A or the AA, and you go to the majors in Hollywood. And I don't think they said, oh, look who just got here. Here's the first 3 big movie roles. So, there might have to be some struggles along the way. What was that like?
Yeah. So going back to college, when I auditioned, I remember my counselor, because I said I wanted to leave class because nobody wanted to do scenes with me in class. And she said, but you got to get a union card. And I go, well, okay, what is that? And I said, well, it's a SAG card. All right, well, I'll just get it. And he goes, no, hon, it's really hard to get it. It's a catch-22. You got to do this and that. So I said, I'm going to get it. And within a month or two, I booked the job. And then I said, I got it. She was like, what? How did you do that? It was something in the universe, me just calling it out. So now I come to LA, right? And it was in 96. And back then we had black and white headshots, and agents were so much approachable, and casting directors were so much nicer, not so cold. I mean, they were cold, but not that cold. So now I'm here and there's no job, like I got to get a job. So I was scared. I was scared. I had to figure it out. So my first thing was get a book, and it had all these agents, and get a job. And so I started looking for a job, and I ended up in going to Apple One Agency, which is a temporary agency. And that was my first big job. And I ended up working with Disney Interactive. So I was a game tester for a long time. And the game tester kind of helped me continue on going to auditions, buying a small little car. But it was like an unknown territory, and I wasn't being cast on anything. I think the first time I got cast for something, it was in a Spanish TV show, Carlos Beltran's. And it was a big, big show. George Lopez's derivative from that show, by the way, George Lopez. And I had a guest star in it. And then I said, it had been like maybe 3 years since I hadn't booked anything. So in the meantime, I was just working at Disney. I was really grateful that I found a position that paid very well and kept me sustained. So I wasn't a waiter. I wasn't a bartender. So I had a regular 9-to job that I would kind of leave to go to auditions in the afternoon. Lunch, what? Oh, I'm going to go eat. No, okay, go to the audition. But now we have tape. So this is fantastic, like what we have now. So you can do it anytime.
Yeah. Wow. So I hope nobody from Disney's watching. They're going to wonder where you were all that time they paid you for those lunch breaks. But so time to name drop a little bit. Why don't you name some of the shows, whether it's a guest starring role or whatever you've been involved with, that a lot of viewers would be familiar with?
Dexter was a big one for me. There's so many. ER was a big one for me.
How long were you on? What'd you do on Dexter? Was that a one episode gig?
One episode gig. And I kind of changed the story a little bit. It's a very interesting thing because, once I got here, I had to find an acting class. So that's like something else. And then I found an acting class and I used the technique. And now I became a real actor. Everything that I knew in college was like, no bueno. And I became a real actor once I got this mentor. So on Dexter, really quick story. We were like coming from Cuba, I believe. My character was Cuban. and we were coming on a boat, and the boat was pretty big, and Michael C. Hall was in it. But Dexter, he was in the back. I guess the episode he was floating out in the ocean, and so we find him. And then it was me and this other lady and this other guy. So there was three of us, and she was pregnant, and so we were all different characters. And I said, in the morning, she knocked on my door, and I looked at her. I'm like, "Oh my God, you're pregnant!" And she goes, "Hey, yeah, how you doing?" The actress.
All right.
I said, "Can I ask you for a favor?" She goes, "What?" "When we go to meet the director, can you and I just hold hands?" And she goes, "Why?" "So we can say that we're together, like we're married or we're," and she goes, "Oh my God, that's fantastic." So now my character had so much more than just me trying to get to America. Now it's me and my wife. Wow. So we walk in, the director looks at it, he's like, "You guys are together." I go, "Yes." And then he goes, "Oh, thank you. I found it. It's not in the script, but I found it." And then now Dexter's character has a much more reason to fight, because now I'm fighting with the guy that wanted more money from us. You know, he has a gun pointed to me. It was there's a fight, and then he kills the bad guy, Dexter does. And then I come and I hold my wife, and all this new scene came out of just holding the hand.
Well, it's great that the director was willing to make that kind of change. I think that's incredible. So we're talking about the acting and the shows you've done. So I've been, not at many, but I've been at a few award shows in Hollywood. I was at the HAPA Awards, the Hollywood African American Awards, but nothing like the Academy Awards or something like that. So can you describe the vibe of the work you did, Coco, winning like Best Animated Feature at the 90th Academy Awards? I mean, if I was driven by the Academy Awards while the show was about to start, that'd be enough for me.
Yeah.
So what is that like for a person so involved and steeped in it?
Yeah, so my first big red carpet was Transformers. I'm one of the original cast of Transformers, the first one. And that was like an eye-opener for me. It was fantastic. You see a lot of stars, and you're among them, and you're just you're putting your little touch, your little, here I am. But I've never felt like I'm part of the group. I don't know why. I've always felt I'm looking in instead of being in. And same thing with the Oscars. Like, I went to 3 different parties. I ended up at Vanity Fair. Well, my publicist, we went through the whole different arrays, because that's where you get to meet other people and connect, and everybody's celebrating. It was a surreal, I'll be honest with you. It was, I got a lot of text messages. I ended up taking a photo with the Oscar in my hand and with the director, and it just doesn't feel right. There's something more that's missing, and I don't know what it is. And I had to figure out for myself, because I'm in it. I'm just being very honest with you. So maybe I feel like I'm not good enough. I'll be honest. I'm still looking for the answer. And I don't know. I mean, it feels great taking photos with all these celebrities over here. I got Rita Moreno. All the other photos that I've taken around. You do all the interviews, but I still feel like I'm not there. I feel, to be honest with you, Mark, like I'm that kid back there working in the fields, still daydreaming, brother.
Well, some would argue that's a good thing, because oftentimes that certain people in Hollywood are wonderful, certain people in Hollywood are tainted. But that's why I call it the story behind the glory, because there's a lot of work, there's a lot of auditions where they say, not now, not this time. I want to circle back, because you said, you didn't feel like you were part of the group. I thought I heard you say that you were either in an acting class or something, and the other people didn't want to do scenes with you.
Yeah.
I want to circle back to that. What was the reason for that?
That was in college. I've always felt the oddball in a group. And believe it or not, like, I know I'm talking because I'm being very personal with you. So this is very personal to me that I'm sharing this.
Okay.
It just felt like I was never good enough to be part of anything, no matter what I do. And so, including Hollywood. And so Hollywood I've had little parts here and there, but not to where I can really show you the full glory of I'm going through inside. And I can give you little snippets of, this is what I did with Dexter. This is what I did with CSI. This is because there's a lot of shows that I've done. And they give me, co-stars, once in a while guest stars, and that's when I can really fully explore. But I've always felt like the oddball not being welcome. And now when a project or a TV show welcomes you, I can't remember the name of the show right now. I was a guest star in it. And when I say that, I feel more like accepted. And it's just an interesting thing that I have to go through this, and I don't understand. I'm being very honest with you. This is very personal, like I said. So they just, Shakespeare. Well, I don't look like a Shakespeare character back in 1990. So what do you do? Everybody is doing. So I'm like the guy in the back, doing this and that. So that's what I mean. It's like I've never been the star of anything. So like I said, Hollywood does the same thing. They have their own table with their own chairs, and there's no chair for me on that table. So I created my own table with my own chairs, and I play with people that want to come, and I'm very open. I'm not like, no, I'm like, whoa, that's interesting. Oh, come on over. Come and sit at the table and have some fun.
Interesting. I know there's the singer Louis Capaldi. He was at an award show, and he was so not well known that they have seat fillers, as you know, with these shows. They don't want to pan the audience and show 2 seats empty. He was at the bathroom, and when he came back, they thought he was a seat filler. They didn't realize he was a guest. So some of these people who are well known, and some of these people who do have tremendous success, it's kind of can be cold, as you know, sometimes. But I know the worldly you, I know you consider yourself to be a citizen of the world, which I find so interesting. I had director Arthur Kanigis on my show, I think 2 years ago, and he was the director of a project, and it was called The World Is My Country. And you consider yourself a citizen of the world. So what's the reasoning and philosophy behind that?
I travel the world, and I see myself in others around the world. I've been to Brazil, I've been to Europe, all over, and I mingle. Like when I was doing a project in Puerto Rico, it was a show called Mad Dogs. I think it was on Amazon, and I was down there for 3 weeks. So when I say citizens of the world, I don't consider myself that artist. I go and explore the real people. So I don't go to the trendy. I mean, I will go and just take a look at whatever is the places that you go to visit in Puerto Rico, like, San Juan, you go and watch the doors, you go to the little section of San Juan. But then I go to the little alleys of San Juan because I hear music. I'm like, what is that over there? So I go and I see a group of people, and they're playing their music, and people are dancing in an alley, literally in an alley. And I go, wow, this is fascinating. So then I see these 2 couple, and they're like in their 70s, and they're kissing. And I go, this is beautiful. Like older people kissing in public. I love this. This is like what life should be. So then I go, how long have you guys been married? And they say, oh, we're not. And I was like, oh, okay. And then they said, let me tell you the story. She left to America, got married, had kids. The husband dies, and then she came back. And we bump into each other again, and now we're together. It was meant to be. I was like, that's wonderful. Let me buy you some beers. So I bought them beers. And then the next thing you know, her friend comes in, and she's another older lady, and she has a little something here to drink. And they introduce me. Next thing you know, I'm dancing with this 80-year-old lady. Next thing you know, hey, you want to come and have dinner with us? And I was like, what? So then they take me to their homes, and they open up their homes to me. And now I'm like the actor. Everybody's taking photos with me. Right. That's what I mean of the citizen of the world, because I like real people. I hide and I become a chameleon, and I just want to be with real, honest group of people. And I'm talking about in the gangs here, or like I live in LA, so I can go to the hood, and I can hang out with the bros. I can hang out with the lawyers. I can hang out with the actors, with the doctors, with this. And I'm very interested in every aspect of life, because that's, as an artist, you have to do this. You have to ask questions and not condemn or judge anybody else, because I might learn something that I didn't. And I think that's special. That's what I mean by citizen of the world. That's
tremendous. I mean, there's 2 ways to go here. One is that's so wonderful and great philosophy. The other one is based on all the alleys you go in. I don't know that I would ever lend you money, because I don't know if I'm going to see you again because of all these alleys you keep going into. But what beautiful stories that is. Now I want to close with everything Pepito, because now it's not just acting, it's writing, and you're in different realms of talent, different realms of movie making. So I want to hear everything Pepito.
Yeah, so Pepito came to me about a few years ago, going through this whole thing. Also, Latinos are very competitive with each other. I don't know if you noticed that, since Hollywood doesn't offer a lot of roles because we're so underrepresented. Whatever role they give us, you have the Dominicans, you have the Puerto Ricans and the Mexicans and the Salvadorians, and they all are looking at each other for the same part. And they's like, oh, we're better than Puerto Ricans, or we're better than the Colombians, whatever. They're all here, the actors, right? So I said, what is one thing that I could unite all of us under one umbrella? And it's this character right here, Pepito. Pepito jokes have been around in our culture for over 100 years at this point. My grandparents used to know them. They're no longer alive. My family knows them. Around all Latin Americas know this character named Pepito. I believe in Venezuela, I think his name is Jaimito, but I like the Pepito word better. It sounds funnier in your mouth. So I said, I'm going to create this character and I'll make him into a man. And I want people to see the flaws, the good things, the bad things, the good, evil, whatever, and make fun of himself as you go through, my friend, we go through life. And he has issues. He's got problems, insecurities, family issues, pathology issues. And so it grew into making, I went to Hollywood and say, hey, I got an idea. And they's like, huh? Oh, no, go away. So I said, during COVID, you know what? I got a little bit of money that the government sent me during COVID. I'm going to shoot little shorts of it because I need to exercise it out, like an exorcism. I got this. I got to get out of myself. Otherwise, I'm going to drown. So I started doing little shorts. And so I did the first one. Then I did one with Maria Conchita Alonso. And then the third one came in, and then after that, I needed more money, right? So after the third episode, the third episode, I did a crowdfunding, and we got 10 grand to do the rest of the episodes. And I made them a lot shorter. And I just did what my mentor told me, Milton Katselas. He just said, just do your work. Mm-hmm. Do it to the best ability that you can, Mark. And do it with your heart, your whole, because when you do it with hearts will follow if it's real. But if you oots it and didn't know. So I just went with what Milton taught us. And here comes Jacqueline Murphy, which I'm really grateful that I got an opportunity to work with her. And then we ended up cutting it and presenting it and putting it on social media. YouTube was the first flavor that we got. And then we ended up submitting it to the Academy, not knowing. I mean, Jacqueline helped us out get some really reputable actors that I am in love with. I'm very grateful. And one of them was Tommy Chong, his wife, and there's a couple of other ones that are kind of spacing out my mind right now because there's so many actors now at this point. It's not just 4 or 5. So it's like 20, a whole bunch of them. So we went through the whole entire process, Mark. And I learned a lot being in the Academy now. They got to review it. And then we went to being considered. And now my name is out there. And now people are watching this thing. Right. And at this point, my friend, I can honestly say to you that there's always a question of this is not going to work. Right. Or all of that. And then now I had to pull it out of YouTube because we're in talks right now. I can't say with who, but we're pretty close. And hopefully you'll be seeing it soon on major TV. And you're the first interview that got to hear this, but we're really close. So I had to pull it out a couple of weeks ago. They said, cut it out because we're going to show them hopefully. Yep. And so we're in that stage right now. And hopefully I'll have some really good news by the end of the year or by the beginning of the year, but I'm thinking it'll be the end of the year. So this allowed me that's me as a kid, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Cartoon. And the reason why this kid is there is because Pepito, when we do the show, we will have flashbacks, and it'll be animation as me as a little boy.
Wow.
Working in the fields or whatever those stories are, and we're going to show you the little jokes that we grew up with for all these years, and give you a little bit of essence of this kid and why we love him. He's our first Latino superhero. You can say that.
Well, you can do a fake shout out to me as long as they're singing in the field, because I remember you said about that singing. So the second I see that's part of it, I'm going to brag and say that's what resonates with me. But it's so exciting, and it's a lesson in perseverance, because nothing comes easy, as you know. But to put your own money into it, which is like the number one thing in Hollywood, always use OPM, other people's money. So I wish you so much luck with that. I'm so excited that this is the first show where that's even partly discussed. Let me just say quickly to the viewers, don't forget to watch us on E360 TV, available on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. EST on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire. Remember to follow us on social media. Life Stories of Marc Hoberman is on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and of course our YouTube channel. So remember to subscribe. Carlos Moreno Jr., I cannot thank you enough for being here and actually sharing so many personal stories. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was wonderful. I hope to see you soon and talk to you again soon.
Best of luck.
Thank you to the audience.
Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. To contact Marc, email him at info@lifestorieswithmarchoberman.com or visit him on social media through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.